see if that works. Just testing. Okay, so the regular audio works. Hang on. All important Binky back to baby. Here we go. Sorry for the start that's not going well. We haven't done our audio in a minute, and the Yeti seems to not be happy with me today. So I think I'm gonna go put in my earbuds so it's a little bit better microphone. Hang on. I stood up. You probably all saw that I was wearing sweatpants. Haha.
No need to wear headphones inside.
Oh, okay. All right. Great. I am going to close the door just so the little baby doesn't get too noisy. All right. Here we are. Welcome to Ruby Thursday, jumping back into live coding. I haven't done it in a minute. Thank you so much for coming. And today, just in case you're new to Ruby Thursday, you're probably not new because here you are on my channel saying hi. But just in case, Ruby Thursday is a site that I've been managing and developing, doing tutorials and live coding, and I have a couple courses, and it's all for junior Rails developers. And last fall, we did several days. I think it was up to like 13, 14 days of live coding, an app that it's called the Invoice app. We now have branded it GigTilt, Gigtilt, and it's still kind of in beta. I'm still working on it. We are processing client money through it, which is great, but it does need some love. And so to get back to it and make it awesome, I'm going to be live coding on a weekly basis. Generally, I will do that on Thursdays. But if Saturday turns out to be a better day for folks than to actually come and say hi, then maybe we'll do that as well, or switch it up. So, you know, let me know in the chat if, you know, hey, Saturday's better, hey, Thursday's better. Let me know. Because I really do want to do it when people can come and ask questions or you know, anything like that. So I'm going to try to talk and explain my process. That was a feedback because sometimes I jump into things and and don't explain. Oh, what am I doing? So if there's any questions, especially because we're going to be jumping into a project really midway here. It's built and it's launched, but today I'm going to deal with a couple of some bugs that have popped up, and so I'm gonna deal with those first. So I'm going to go ahead and also my mouse has crapped out on me, so I'm gonna just turn that off. So I have to use my trackpad, so you'll see me kind of my arm come up here a little bit. But I'm going to, let's see, I'm just going to double check the chat. Do you have a link to the GitHub repo? That's a good question. It's a private repo because a good portion of it we have now made into like a course on how to build it. So I'm not sharing the GitHub repo, but you'll get to see some of the code. That's a good question. I will think about how to best live code and that experience without having the repo. Maybe I'll put portions of it, you know, live so that you can kind of see what's going on. I will look at how much to share. I hope that's not too weird. But thank you for the question. Thank you. All right, and let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and transition with OBS. You'll see that. Here I am now, smaller, and here I was working on a few things this morning, getting some stuff back together. I did, if you have been a member of Ruby Thursday for a minute, you got the Ruby snack about VCR. Right. Oh, I have to, there we go. VCR. And so I included that in a bunch of specs. I don't think I have them on all the specs that do reach out to APIs, but a lot of them. So that has definitely helped out with my test suite running faster. And so check out that Ruby snack. You can go to rubythursday.com/episodes and look through and see there's a VCR snack where I describe how to use that gem to record your API interactions, so you're not doing those live all the time when you're doing especially feature specs and things like that. So today what we're going to be working on is that sort of mid-process during making the app, I ended up making different types of payments. So let's just look through the models here just real quick. So I ended up making a subscription model and table to handle payment types that are subscriptions. Then we have a payment plan, and that is, as far as Stripe understands it, it's a subscription. I'm using Stripe, but there's some more things that happen with the payment plan, in that there's only going to be so many payments of that subscription, then you have to cancel it. So then I have a one-time payment. So we have these three types of payments that we're accepting right now. And so we're going to, when I originally had it, I just had payments, and I was like, I really need to separate this out into different tables. That was the decision I made then. And so now what I need to do is fix up some of the views, because they all don't have all this information for the three different types. So our view for invoices index, transactions. So transactions, and I'd have to look back through the videos and why I decided to call it a list and not an index. I came back and I was like, why did I call it a list? So we may change that to index, because that's more standard, and it's doing the same thing. It's taking something called transactions, so it's all three of those, and if we look in our transactions controller, right, I have all these different things, and I'm adding them all together, right, and then I'm sorting by created at. So that's how I make, right now I'm doing this in the controller. It'd probably be good to have some kind of service do this instead. But right now, that's kind of a whole refactoring thing I hope to do a little later, just to see how it kind of shakes down and how it works out once I've added, the major features. And then I'll come back through and pull out a lot of these things in the controller, especially to make into different services, or different put them in different places, so that it's not all in one place, and you're following better coding practices with object-oriented programming. So this is not quite that, and so, but you got to get it out and work it, and you don't want to make too many decisions, before you have more of it in mind as well, and that's I've been reading a little bit more of Sandy Metz lately, and there's this balance that she talks about. You definitely want to think about these things, but there's also the balance of making decisions before you have all the information. So that's my philosophy here, so now this guy, I still think it needs to say index, so we may just do that right away, because it's bothering me. But what I think we'll, let's just refactor that. Let's do that first. And what we'll do here, we'll call it index. Then in the routes, right, I had this, you know, template here, but it's more appropriate to have resources, transactions, and then we'll go only index. All right, so that's more CRUD friendly. There we go. And I have it to autosave. So let's go ahead and with, let's run all our specs. I don't think anything should have changed because basically that was going to the index. Oh, I did forget something. It's called, the view itself is called list. So it's gonna, all right. Yep. Okay. Enter. But this is why we have all our specs written up, right? So I can just hit our spec and I've refactored that. Nothing should have changed. And so it's going to run all of those again. I just want to make sure that that's what we're going to do. And then, so then we'll write a spec to make sure we're looking at the transactions while this is running. Not sure why it's taking a moment. It should be faster even now, but well, you know, things get a little bit slower because I'm also live coding. That takes some processor. I am in the market for a new computer, so that should be coming soon. I need to do a little research. When I first got this computer, I wasn't doing as much video, so I need to beef up that. It was just going to be, you know, just a development and coding. It didn't need quite as fast a processor. Alrighty, so what we need to look at here is vendor manages transactions. So it looks like I started working on this. Payment plan, one-time payment. Let's see. But we're not testing for subscription yet. You can cancel a subscription and you can click to view invoice. So let's add in cancel. Looks like I'm not testing for that subscription. All right, let me just check to see if we're, oh no, I do have some failures. All right, we'll have to check on that. Before we continue. It's not running a whole lot faster there. There it goes. All right, but it's important to run it before we get too far along. So we're not gonna, let's see. Oh, it's taking a minute. Let's go ahead and cancel and deal with these two failures. This is a day of troubleshooting, so that's what it is, guys. I'm live coding. Oh, right, because I've now changed where things go. All right. You know what? I'm going to let's see. let's check out. Let's not rock the boat here too much, guys. Let's go ahead and do that later. I know, back and forth here. Let's see. All right. Use. Okay. All right. Well, that's how you can just get back to where we were. I will change that later. There's a lot. Hey, there you go. And the test showed me that. You know, it's not as simple as that. You have to change your other tests as well. So we do want to make sure visit transactions path. We're not checking to see to have content. Let's check to make sure we have name, the active subscription name as well. So let's make sure that's working. And what I may do, let's just make sure that's working. I'd have to look again at, you know what? I'm going to look at our guy here. Oh, I did that. Oh, it's the invoice show page to show payment plans and one-time payment. So it's not the list page. I should have looked back at my notes here. Okay, well, I think it's important to go ahead and make this change. Let's make sure this is running correctly. And then we will go and, yeah, that should be fine. All right, you know what? It's not the list page. Save. Sorry about that. I had it in my head as one thing. So let's go to our spec. When you view the invoice, managing existing invoices. With transactions. Can't see, these are all just subscriptions, right? All right, so we need to add scenario by viewing invoice with transactions, but let's qualify that subscription invoice. So viewing one-time payment invoice with transactions. All right. And what we need is now I have this method down here that is create invoice to delete. And we're going to do that. Now once we have it passing, we will add VCR to it. All right, so it doesn't continue to make more and more one-time payments. You know, filling up that test account. So what I did is I, you know, create this invoice to delete. We have oh, this is a subscription, in fact. So I probably create, let's see what we got. The invoice. Do I have an invoice for a one-time payment? Let's see. Invoice for a one-time payment. That's right. So since it's, especially since it's not a payment plan, right? This is a little bit easier. We're just going to create, and then what do we do for one-time payment? Charge customer, ID for customer. So let's see. Let's see if we can use this factory one-time payment. All right, so payment invoice. No. Creating the one-time payment. So we're going to invoice. Oh, that invoice. Okay, so this factory here creates this invoice. So how we define the invoice equals, all right, so just a reminder, the one-time payment belongs to invoice, or in case you didn't know, it's the one-time payment belongs to invoice. And so what the factory is doing is it's creating that association at the time it's being created. So it's creating that invoice for one-time payment. And so we can find the invoice then from calling one-time payment.invoice. So then we need to visit what we need to have a transaction. We don't have a transaction yet. Oh, no, that's the one-time payment. Okay, I think that's all we need. All right, so visit invoice path. And we're just going to that invoice. And so we should expect page to have the content paid, I believe. So it's a list of it's a list of when the invoice page itself shows the information about the invoice, and then below it, it has a list of all the transactions associated with that invoice. So we should be able to see, and I'm going to go to our database schema just to remind myself what's on one-time payment status, default paid. Okay, so that's why it's underscored, but I think the design makes it capitals. So it will be paid. We should have that. And we should have the, I believe it has, let's double check, because I think, show, payment type, if no transactions, right, for the transactions we have the status, how much it was, the type, and the email. So let's, right, so this next due part, we'll have to figure out for, you see, it's only dealing with subscriptions. So this all kind of has to get redone a little bit. So let's go and find the email. And I think we're going to make that factory a little nicer, because right now it's just got this. Let's go ahead and oh, it has that. Right, because we're making a lot of vendors. We won't use Faker. I just would like it to be not my string, customer at email. Because then if I ever look at the page during this, then I'll know, oh, that's the email. So otherwise it's a little, my string doesn't tell me a whole lot. So let's expect page to have content. Time payment dot customer email. Okay, now I'm expecting this to fail. All right. Pretty sure it's going to fail because that's the issue we're having. I will just double check invoices show. Right, it's only, I at least called it transactions, but then it's only pulling the subscriptions, not like how we have the transactions here, which has all of these different ones. All right, so this is going to fail. So let's just run line 45, sorry. Oh, okay. Let's also put this on a branch. And let's call that fix view invoice view. There we go. And fix invoice show view. Okay. That's descriptive. And just, I will check back on Twitch. So if you have questions, be sure to chat. I will check back in just a minute to see what's up. All right. So now our spec. And let's just run, it was at line 45. And I've had a crazy morning, so I didn't really eat lunch before. So I'm going to eat a little bit of soup here while this runs. Pardon the slurping. Okay, so not exactly the error I was expecting. So I think that's interesting. So so what it's showing on the page, and it's hard sometimes to read through this RSpec output. Because it lists all the different links and everything. Basically what we're saying is you are not authorized to perform this action. And that may have been something I did to been a minute, right, since I've been in here. And I think if we look at our application controller, user not authorized. We're not authorized to perform this action. So are we logged in? We need to be logged in as vendor, scope vendor. All right, so there might be, we haven't, so we've called vendor, and this invoice is connected to that vendor, but that new invoice that we created, let's go through our factories. We may have to be more explicit in what we're making. So we're creating that invoice. The invoice creates a vendor. So, so there's two ways we could handle this. We could either so the spec itself is getting kind of long, and maybe what we should do is pull out what we're trying to test into its own spec, into its own file, and so that we create these things and then we have the one vendor as opposed to creating, you know, two vendors when we run the whole spec. You know, maybe it's just a little too, you know, trying to put it all into this one manages existing invoices might be just too much, because there's a lot going on and I don't need to create an invoice to delete for one-time payments. I do for a payment plan, but it's getting a little complicated in here to see what all we need to do. So I think the what I'm gonna do is pull it out into its own spec, because now we have different types of payments. It's just getting to be a little too much to ask one spec to do. So we may, I think, redefine this spec here, manages existing invoices, to be a little more specific, like views let's see, invoice info, have the content name, view list of invoices, that seems like global to like existing invoices. Invoice with no transactions, that could probably be just fine to be just, you know, the just testing the subscription one. And then I think everything else we need to pull out into their own things, like viewing a subscription with transactions could be its own spec. Editing an invoice, that's very specific, because if you're editing an invoice that is a subscription, it's a little harder than if it's a one-time payment, because you have to go and update things in Stripe as well. Previewing payment link, that's sort of general. That could be left in here. Deleting, that's really more with managing an invoice, a subscription invoice, but we could put that into its own thing. So let's go ahead and you know, part of this live coding is sometimes there's going to be just, you know, kind of refactoring that maybe is not that exciting, but I really should do it. But that's why we're going to make it more weekly and make them, you know, short 2-hour things. And you know, let me know how that works for you guys, and you know, what you like, what you don't like. I'm going to double check the chat just real quick. See if anybody has any questions. can see. Thank you for. Why can't I scroll? Put it back to big. Oh, okay. When are we publishing the course? Right, because we sort of bundled it up with a package last time, and we haven't, put it out there just for itself. So, yes. Thank you for that question, and thanks, Todd is Mendelbroth, for answering. All right, so let's go back here. I know it's weird to look at all that. All right, so let's go ahead and make some new files here. So let's do vendor. Sorry, let's save. Vendor manages subscription invoice. Because a lot of that existing invoice was very specific to subscriptions. So let's actually let's copy it all. I think it's easier to delete what we don't need. So all and then copy. So what we're going to in fact, let's go back to existing. Let's see what we want to leave, right? So we're going to view invoice info. That's fine. This is going to absolutely, I'm going to have to redo the VCR. So you'll see me do that because now I've renamed these things. These should be able to stay because I've not renamed this file. So index page, that's fine. No transactions, I think it's fine. But we're going to delete this because that's very specific to subscriptions. I know we just did that, but we have it copied somewhere else. Editing invoice is very specific to anything that's like invoice to delete. I think we should leave in that other file. Previewing payment link. I think that's fine. With no subscriptions in Z form. That's subscriptions, invoice to delete. Okay, so now we've gotten this down to 1, 2, 3, 4 scenarios, and these scenarios are applicable to all the different types of payments. So let's save that. Let's work bit by bit. Let's make sure that still passes. So let's just run that. Oops, sorry, whole thing. I've lowered it down again to the bottom. Actually, if I lower it a little, I can see the name of the files. RSpec, spec, vendor, oops, sorry, features, vendor manages existing invoice. And let's make sure those, did I say 4 or 5? Still pass, which they should. All I did was delete other ones. So let's make sure, and then I think we'll. Yeah, we'll finish doing that before we commit. Okay. Excuse me. Great. So now let's go to this one And let's make our one more file. And we're going to save this one as vendor manages one-time payment invoice spec.rb. And again, we will Control All and copy. Easier to delete than anything. So for this one, all we're deleting is our new spec. And I think, oh, and then the ones that we are testing other places. So we don't need the 4 that we left in the other one. All right, good. So now is when I need to look at the VCR cassettes, and I need to look at those, which are support. So this had all of these cassettes, right? But we don't need all of those. So what will happen is when I run this, it'll create a new folder because we have a new name for our spec here. So let's run it first, and then we'll clean up the VCR. So, because I don't think we'll need VCR at all, actually, for the one-time payment, because it's not connecting to Stripe to do anything. It's just looking at our database and things that we've already recorded, and feeding that information. So let's manages subscription invoice. So it should take a minute because it is going to do everything live and then record. So we should get another folder right in here when this is done. So I'm almost done with my soup. Now you're going to hear some slurping. I'm going to drink some soup. Oh, that wasn't too bad. Yep, see the folder popped up. Sorry. I'm glad to see the green. I'm glad. You could probably see, there we go, 5 examples, 0 failures. Great. And that you can see, manages. I saw something pop in. Well, was that my imagination? It should have been, we should have a vendor manages subscriptions invoice folder. Let's see. Oh, guys, it's not the name of the file, it's up here. Ah. Okay. I should, because all that's going into the same folder. And that obviously confused me. So we need to, I'd rather have a whole, like each folder should go with a spec. So let's, manages, I forgot to change that. Subscription, invoice. To match, right? So let's save that again. So let's do that again, and then we can delete out of that other folder. So what I saw come in was that I renamed by this one, adding that one. That's what popped in. Okay. So now we should have a whole new folder come in. Unless it breaks. See. Yeah, there we go. So right, it's taking from right here. That's what VCR is taking from. So it's now going to go through. Oh, and this is one of the reasons I put together VCR, is because I was, using this one customer in my factory, and it was filling up with too many subscriptions. I think I manually put it right there. Yeah. Okay. So now, but it's ended it. It didn't pass, so it didn't. I have how many? Let's see. I have several. Do they not all of you have VCR? No, because some of it's just. Oh, I should put that with VCR. What should we see about it? All right, so so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So only 3 were using VCR. So that's fine. So 3 got recorded. And the one that failed was by deleting invoice with subscriptions. Okay, so it did get recorded. So we need to delete that because the recording will have have the 400 error instead. So let's go ahead and delete that. Sorry, remove spec support. And this is something I found that you have to do a little bit when you're working on the VCR stuff. And maybe, when you're refactoring, you probably should take out the VCR. But you do need to delete the files quite a bit. when you're changing things. That's what I've found so far with VCR. Maybe that's just, I haven't found the right flow with it, but let's see, support, vendor, sorry, VCR cassettes, vendor, manages, subscription invoice by deleting. Okay. So now what I unfortunately have to do is I'm going to open a new private window, and I'm going to log into my test Stripe account. I'm doing this in a private window just because I don't want to, I may end up logging into Stripe, you know, on a different browser, in a different account. Because and this is kind of what I've seen other people do as well, is that you have this test account. That's all it does. You never actually process money through it, so have it there for testing. Okay, and the easiest thing to do is to take this and copy. And we're only doing test events. Looking for our test user. Who ended up with a pretty funny name there. All right. Loading. There it goes. All right, so let's take out older ones. And obviously this is one of the main reasons I put in VCR, so that it would stop creating all of these, but I didn't go back and then delete, you know, as many as I need to. And once in a while I have it set, I think it's every 90 days. It is going to go and, sorry, where did we go? There we go. Rerun live versions, like re-record the cassette to make sure it's going to still work. Because Stripe does change from time to time, as any good app will, especially in the payment platform arena. Things are changing there quite a bit. All right, so hopefully that's enough. Let's go back to our test and run it again. So it should be using the cassette for 2 of them. I'm going to have this up as we watch it happen there. So the 3rd one should come back in. Still working. Almost there. I think there were only 4. Oh, there were 5. Okay, great. And then you see the third one pop back in, deleting here. Great. Now it's gotten the code message. 200, doing well. All right. Almost done with our refactoring. Oh, so we did that. And now we are going to close that. One-time payment. So this is where we wanted to get to here. Let's go ahead and save what we've done, or commit what we've done, sorry. So, let's see. We're adding vendor manages subscriptions, because that wasn't completely new. Let's leave the vendor manages one-time payment because that was completely new. But we need to add, alright, it's harder to look at the bottom. Get add, just going to do status again. Get add, spec, support, all of those can go. So what we're leaving, oh, no, we get add, spec, there's vendor, manages existing invoices. That is, you know, had the same scenarios just in different files. So that's the commit I'm doing right now. So get commit -m. And refactor feature specs to feature spec for managing invoice to be 2 files. One for general info on invoice, one for subscription invoice. Okay, let's go ahead and push this. For the first time today, I used GitHub to fix a merge conflict. It was a really small one in the gem file lock. And I was like, yes, this was so easy. So I do recommend seeing if you can fix it online. Sometimes it's easier back in your text editor, but I found that to be, I was like, yes, that saved me so much time of having to come back here, come back to this, fix it, go into the command line, commit the difference. All right, so let's clear out a little bit here. All right, we don't need that one. I think we're all right with that. Okay, so one-time payment invoice, what do we need? All right, so let's, all right, we can take out these 3. Because we're testing that other places. We can take out, it should be only 1. There we go, there's our 1. We'll take out the other scenarios. We do not need to create an invoice to delete. because it is not a subscription or payment plan. So our issue is that we're creating too many vendors and we're not logging in as the correct one. So so the decision to make is if it's easier to create, the bot is creating, this factory bot command is creating everything we need in one line because it's going to the factories and they're creating. And maybe it's simpler to leave that one line and then do what we need to do in setting the invoice and setting the vendor and logging in as the vendor, as opposed to having these things up above. Especially if it's just one scenario, I think that's easier and clearer. I know the standard is to have these lets and the befores, but if it's one scenario, then it's not really doing too much else. Now, if we have multiple scenarios, then yes, before, and we have the lets. But I think we're just going to do the one-time payment with invoice with transactions. I think that's all we're going to existing. Oh, let me make sure to change this here, right? Manages one-time payment. Now we may be deleting this one. And deleting an invoice with, oh, sorry, that's the, because for example, back in our subscription one, we edited it and it had more, maybe we need to edit this one and see that, all of this doesn't happen. We don't have these different conditions because it's a little bit simpler. It's a one-time payment. So there was no invoice, no subscription created on Stripe to manage. But here's the thing. What did we say here? Deleting with no subscriptions. With subscriptions. Right, we had to cancel all of the subscriptions if you wanted to delete it. This comes into an interesting user experience, because if you are deleting an invoice, then, but it had its, it had, children, right? It had these different payments. It could have had several one-time payments depending on the type of invoice. So do we go ahead and delete the invoice and we delete all the children as well? Because that's obviously safer for all the different views and everything like that. I mean, if you delete it, you're deleting all the information about that. The other user experience, so that's option one. Option one is to, if we allow a vendor to delete an invoice and it had transactions, I mean, we've already testing for that in the subscription, then we delete everything about it, and it's gone. right? So all that information is gone. Or we really say no, you can disable it so that nobody else uses that payment link. And especially if you don't want people to find it somehow, or come to it after the fact, like you've canceled that deal, so to speak, right? So you don't want people to use an old link they sent, they never paid, but now they want to, and they're using this link, and they go, and it's live, and they pay for it. It just becomes complicated. You're like, no, the price went up. I definitely see why we need to disable the invoices and the payment links. Or we could just get rid of the information. As far as the app owner goes, I mean, it'd be useful to have that information only in that, okay, we processed this many payments, because we can simply count how many of the different tables there are. And so as the app owner, the admin, so to speak, we haven't built one yet, but as the admin, it's nice to have that information. So I don't suppose Todd is listening, because he sounds very quiet out there, so I think he's doing other things. But that would be the question. Now I've already, I could refactor this. Right now you can delete. I'm just going to check the chat real quick. Let's see if anybody has any questions or any thoughts on that. That's kind of a big decision now that I'm thinking about it. I am listening, I suppose. So, what do you think? Should we not delete the invoices if they have transactions? That's the choice to make. I mean, we can certainly disable the payment links and have a redirect saying, hey, this payment link is no longer valid. Please contact your vendor for more information. I'm kind of leaning in that direction. And so I could make that work for the one-time payment, and then we'll go back and fix the subscriptions, because you should still delete those subscriptions if you're canceling that. Oh no, that's an interesting thought. Like, should you be able to cancel those? It's a different button. Cancel all existing subscriptions, and then it would be a different button. We could still use some of that, the code. It would just be a different button. I think would be maybe the better user experience, to say cancel all existing subscriptions. That could, very easily you could go and do that from our app, as opposed to having to go to Stripe and do it. That's the point of the app, is to manage it there, so that you can have that nice payment link. And so that is the thought. There is a delay, so I have to wait to see if Todd writes back. We're making business decisions. I'm listening, that is. So I got that text right now. I would like you to weigh in. I'll wait for him to hear that. See if I get the text here. I know it's like one of those mirror things. What I could do to make it not quite so just crazy looking here. I'm going to pull this out and minimize it. Oh, Todd is coming. He's like, I don't know. Oh, make it a little less crazy. Just a moment. Oh.
I could just tell you this to your face.
Maybe even are you really sure?
Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay. So you're probably seeing Todd's text and I'm not, which I guess it's just taking a minute to load on my page. So he came and he showed me the text. He's like, I've been texting you. And are you really sure? Okay, so we're going to, we're going to refactor this so that, or rework it really even. It's not even refactoring, it's reworking to go ahead and we're not going to delete these invoices. We're going to disable the payment link. So, woohoo! We're not going to be able to do all that in 45 minutes. Let's just work on the one-time payment, and I'll come back and fix subscription. Because one-time payment has less to do. It's simpler, right? So, what we're going to do is... But if there's no transactions, I think that's fine. Let's just get rid of it. You know, maybe it was a test, just to look at something. So let's actually. Right. So we already tested if there's no transactions. Oh, and that's actually. I got into thinking about it, but what I was trying to do is just that. See, I got a little distracted, but let's just write the scenario name. Without transactions. I'm not sure. Oh, you know what? I bet we could put that on the existing because it would be the same process for all three types. So it would be transactions due. So sometimes I do this. It's just my flow is that I comment it out, but I just put it there so that I remember what I'm gonna do. It's also good maybe to go to the Trello board and put it down, but let's existing invoice. Let's add here okay, you know what? I just realized I'm going to take this back because we're going to have to sort of create different things. So for each, yeah. Sort of looking back on this, I might have been better off keeping that one table. But and having, you know, types and maybe you know, additional attributes on like other tables, but I think this is okay for now. It's gone now it's one of those, it's gone too far now. We have customers. So all right, here we go. So scenario, and this is by deleting one-time payment invoice with no transactions. Okay, So we'll do with deleting next time. Right now we're going to just view it because right now it's broken. So let's run just this and it should, okay, nope, we still haven't dealt with this. So we're going to, vendor equals invoice dot vendor. And what we'll do, I don't know. Now I remember why I went through this whole deleting thing, because are we going to have different scenarios? The answer is yes. We're going to have 3 scenarios, so we should try to leave these up there. So let's see. But I think I'm going to, can you use let without factory bot? Like, does that matter? Lazy load it. You know, I don't know that I want to, because I'm going to have to have these things created all ahead of time. So I think it's actually better not to have the lazy loading. I think it's better just to set it. So if you have a different opinion, feel free to chime in. But this to me feels easier to read. And if I'm not lazy loading anything, why have the lets? We're going to move that up here. We're going to get rid of the lets. So, but before each one, we're going to create. All right, so we're going to create one-time payment. We're going to use that for sure. I think that's all we need to do. Sorry, without the mouse. I guess I could just use my, that's easier, right? So now we're going to, oh, we have to visit the invoice, so. Going to visit. Okay, so I think that's what we're gonna do right now so that we have access. Okay, well, we're gonna run this guy. Vendor manages, I still expect it to fail. It's gonna fail at have content paid. And let's run it. Okay. Whoa, what am I doing? RSpec. Feature, vendor manages one-time payment spec. La la la. Yep, time for a new computer. Can't quite handle all the video. Because this does take less time when I'm not actually live. Gosh, it's taking a minute. Okay. Oh, I see. It does have... It got through paid, but it's not finding the customer email. I probably have... I mean, this is showing. There's the "un" next to it, but that's probably why that's passing. So I need to make a better test in that way. You know, we should have invoice stats, 0 customers, trial active, past due, unpaid, canceled. So, you know, for this type of invoice, that doesn't work. So I think we'll have to think about that design-wise later, but for right now, we're just trying to make sure that it's at least giving some information there. So it says that there's no transactions, right? Right. So that's what we don't want to say. We'll have to fix up this area, the stats, later. Maybe we get to that today, but that would be the next thing to fix up, because obviously that's not correct. Okay, so, but let's load in the correct transactions for this invoice. So we do that up here in our invoices controller, in our transactions. All right. So, taking a bit from what I did here, let's copy that. And so right now we're not dealing with payment plans quite yet, right? Oh, right. No, this isn't going to work. It's going to be just one-time payments. But, oh, wait. Let's put it back in there. So we're going to have we're going to need to pull in the transactions depending on the type of invoice it is. So, all right, let's just make it work, and then I think we'll pull this out later into a service to not have all these like if-else statements. But right now, if invoice type. All right, we have this in our helpers, don't we? No. Invoice type. Right. So I added invoice type. I don't have any if statements. That's good. No, there we go. All right. If all these things. Status. This was all for subscriptions. Okay. Well, we'll just. All right. If the invoice type equals. One-time payment. And let's double check that that's what's... We're doing it... It'll be all like that. Because the form, let's see what the form's doing. What it's getting saved as. Not the best here, but let's see. Right, so I should pull this out somewhere where I can find it and edit it better. But that's what's going to happen. So if it's saving as one-time payment, would be at transactions, whoops, equals at invoice. One-time payments. Else if or if it equals subscription, then it's, sorry, should just use my keyboard, it's faster. All right. Okay, so we're setting the transactions that are coming in. And okay. Let's change it to have a space in front of it so that it's not showing unpaid. Although it won't have a space either. Paid. Let's actually comment that out for now because it's not, it should eventually, this is something we'll change. It'll be say 1 paid or something like that. But not right now. So this is kind of a note for myself, but let's go ahead and run it again, and it should pass. Oh, right. Once I start running it, I can't pull it to the top of the screen. Nope. Okay. Oh. What is the name? Let's see, I'll just go here. Easier to find. Payment type. That's right, because just plain type would probably be a terrible name for a attribute. It's probably a reserved word. Try it again. Gonna double check our, oh, now we have like various browser windows open, don't I? Let's see. Try to make that one easier to see. It's like my chat did not, it did not update. Interesting. Oh, there we go. Okay, so hopefully my chat's up to date. And nothing's new, so okay. Okay, so it's still not, sorry about that. Let's see, still not, oh, sorry, you're looking at my email, silly. Sorry about that. It is probably in the view. So no transaction. So it's not coming through. Wait, let me look again. It's still coming out with no transactions. You don't have any transactions. All right. Let's see if we're just not creating what we need to create. Sorry. Just double checking the, while it's doing that, let's just look at payment type, one-time payment. That's what it looks like. One-time payment. One-time payments. We should have some one-time payments. Okay. So let's look at the invoice. And sadly, you'll see accept Bitcoin. I added that, and then Stripe said they're not going to support that anymore. So that was sad. All right, so what is invoice? Okay, there it is. Why is it still... let's see. Let's check dot payment type equal sure. Let's double check maybe it's whatever's exactly there. True. So true. Maybe we should look at this because in the view there was a helper, I believe. If no transactions, is that a helper method for the view? Redirect, no aha! Subscription's empty, so that's true. So we need to add our if statements here as well. Excuse me. However, I think it'd be easier to just check if transactions is empty, right? Because we've set at transactions. So if this is empty, I think that's what it should be instead. I don't really think we should do that helper anymore. I don't think that's helpful. So if we go back, we need to open that view. So if because it's an active record relation array coming back. If transaction is empty, then we say no transactions. I think that's going to be better. I could change that to, plug in transactions and then check on it. But, that's what we could do. Plug in the transactions. Right? So it's a helper method, so you're not calling, or, to avoid this in your code. So let's, instead we'll feed in at transactions. All right, let's do that. I say all right because to me it adds a little bit of complexity, but you do want to try to avoid those calls in your view. Uh-oh, somebody's coming out. Oh, maybe just need something. So hopefully it's green. Drum roll. Nope. For a nil class. Okay. So it's nil. So we're asking, oh, okay, right. So that's right. If the active relation comes back nil. So, active record relation, sorry. So there you go. So instead of empty, nil. Does that work? Let's see. I feel like I should Fill the space here. Oh, no. So it's true? Alright. Let's... Maybe we pull it out once we actually... Now it would be false. Hang on just a moment. Yes.
Quick question. She was rubbing her eyes. I changed her diaper. I put her down. I was like, "You look like you need a nap," so I put her down. But now she's screaming her head off, and I was like, "Oh wait, it's only been an hour and 45 minutes or something since her last nap."
Yeah.
Is it too soon for a nap?
Is it too soon for a nap? Is the question. Probably. You should probably wait till 3. Okay. Little baby is offer. I misspelled transactions. Maybe that's why. Transactions. Did I misspell it in the controller? No. Maybe that's what's going on. Go back to our test here. I don't know. It feels like I would be getting a different error if it was that, but let's see. Like, that's not defined or something. Yay! It was the typo. All right, excellent. Okay, so that's great. So get status. All right. So now what I should also do though is I'm going to go ahead and put VCR on this. I forgot all of the invoices make a bit.ly link. So we don't want to be hitting bit.ly so much. So let's, and I do recommend making it pass before adding the VCR, just in case. So, oh, although we wanted to have we were going to add something. So let's do this first here. Okay, so let's say that. Let's go ahead and commit, because we got it green. Anytime it's green, it's good to commit. Alright, get commit add add conditional load transactions for one-time payments on invoice view. Okay. All right, so we have 10 more minutes. Let's go ahead and see if we can fix up this next bit. So that's going to, let's make sure our test is correct. It should fail now at that point. So active. Right, because right now we have the options that work for subscriptions, but not necessarily for one-time payments. We have canceled, unpaid, past due, active, trial. These are very confusing if it's a one-time payment. So I think what we should do is load different partials. Um, so number of customers would still be true. And maybe that would be it. Right? Because there's nothing that's canceled or unpaid or any of that, like it's paid or it's not. So maybe we just have total number of customers, and then we, I don't know what that does to the design. I think I have, do I have the staging open and I can kind of look at, no. Let's go to gig tilt. Oh no, staging. Let's go to staging. Staging. And log in. I'm already logged in. Thanks for that. Alright, so we view this subscription guide, and I think it's, there we go. So I have this grid. So really it should be no grid. It would just have number of customers. It'd be great at one point to maybe have like some kind of total amount that you've gotten, but that's on down the line. And so let's see if I can do that without too much trouble in a few minutes. All right, let's see. Here we are. So block. So when it starts the row here, right? So, let's have 2 for now, and then we just want to, why is it an A class? What are we linking to? What are we linking to? Oh, you know what? I think we did the that's in the design for whenever you know, you just wanted to filter these, right? He made it an A class just in case. So I think that's eventually these are going to link to then filter all of this. And that's what we were going to do. So that's why it's an A class. I just making sure. But let's just, for the sake of the 5 minutes, we're just going to have both of them show, and then I'm going to fix that later. So it doesn't really need to be A class for that. So we'll take that out, but so just for now I'm gonna have 2 blocks. Also, sorry, back to our spec. Oh, no, what I wanted to do is go back up to, still had 0 customers. Okay, so that Hoper method here, total customers, is also probably not working. This does not need to be a link at all, because it's not going to go anywhere. No. So, sorry, getting text messages. So let's look at total customers. Is that total customers subscriptions.count, right? Well, here again, we've gotten the transactions. So why can't we just put in transactions? I'm going to change it down here too, because otherwise it'll break that eventually. Eventually I'm going to pull these out into different partials so that we load the correct one. Or we're going to have another if statement. I'm going to see the best way to do that, but for now, because we only have a few minutes left, just going to see if we can get it to say number of customers, right? So it'd be 1. Yeah, it's going to be customers. We're not dealing with that. Oh well. All right, let's just see if that works. It's working. Terminal cat box is on. All right, yay! Very good. All right, I think that's a good place to stop for today. So let's just commit -m. A little bit of a work in progress because it's gonna look kind of silly, so I'm gonna just do work in progress. But let's go ahead and commit it. Because I don't know what it looks like at all. So we'll still need to work on this. Add for showing number customers for one time payment. And I'm probably going to want to spin that up and see what it looks like. So, all right, that is it for today. I'm going to go check and make sure there are no more questions. Or comments, but again, let me know. You know, feedback is great. I'm doing this for you guys. I'm doing a little bit for myself to keep myself working on this app and improving it. You know, we have a lot of things going on here at Ruby Thursday, um, and just in the Wanish household. So lots of things going on. So this keeps me working on this and making it better because people are using it, and we need to make it awesome. So, but I'm also doing the live coding part for you guys. So please tell me if was it helpful? What about it was helpful? What do you want to see more of? And let me know that. You can email me at melissa@rubythursday.com and just give me your feedback. And especially because probably most people will watch this later. So definitely, you know, it's a little bit slow start getting going again. So it should be a little bit smoother next time. But again, it's live coding. It is what it is. And, you know, scrub through what you need to. Watch me on, I hear that some people like speed up the replay, and that helps. And then they'll slow it back down to, you know, if I'm, you know, they need to really listen. But that can get you through the 2 hours a lot quicker. And especially because I do try to speak at a fairly normal pace. You can speed me up. It's a little tip. So thank you so much for watching, for coming out, and asking again about the you know, knowing what all we've already worked on and what those courses. So we wrapped it up in a course. So I will have more information on that next time. So have a good weekend, and let me know your feedback. And that's it for today. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close on down here and talk to you soon. Bye.